What if the most powerful healing foods on Earth were not discovered in a laboratory, but prescribed in the oldest continuously read text in human history, thousands of years before clinical trials, biochemical analysis, or the word antioxidant existed? The Bible is not a nutrition manual, but it contains centuries of accumulated observation by people who paid careful attention to what healed them. The foods appearing throughout Scripture were chosen because generations of experience confirmed they worked. Modern nutritional science is now providing the mechanisms. 20 foods mentioned in Scripture, each with healing properties now supported by peer-reviewed research. Number 13 was used in purification rituals. Modern science confirms its antimicrobial compounds. Number 20 fed a prophet in the wilderness. Researchers now call it one of the most complete survival foods ever analyzed. Subscribe and ring the bell. Every week on Sacred Roots, we recover the ancient wisdom the modern world nearly buried. Let's begin. Food number 1, olive oil. Olive oil appears in Scripture over 140 times as food, medicine, sacred substance, and wound dressing. The Good Samaritan in Luke chapter 10 poured oil into a stranger's wounds, not as a spiritual gesture, but as medicine. The ancient world understood olive oil to be simultaneously nourishment and healing agent, and modern clinical science confirms both simultaneously. Extra virgin olive oil's polyphenol oleocanthal inhibits the same inflammatory enzyme pathways as ibuprofen, without the gastrointestinal damage. Hundreds of trials have linked the olive oil-centered Mediterranean diet to reduced rates of heart disease, cancer, neurodegeneration, and all-cause mortality. The critical qualifier is cold-pressed and unrefined. Refined and heat-processed oils do not contain oleocanthal. The people of Scripture poured genuine extra virgin olive oil over everything generously and consistently. They did not take polyphenol supplements. They poured this over their food and their wounds. Food number 2, raw honey. Raw honey is one of the most powerful natural antimicrobials ever studied. It produces hydrogen peroxide on contact with tissue, maintains a water content low enough to dehydrate most pathogens, and contains defensin-1, an antimicrobial protein originally from bee immune systems. Manuka honey containing methylglyoxal is now used in certified hospital wound dressings worldwide. Clinical trials confirm honey kills antibiotic-resistant bacteria including MRSA, not through antibiotic resistance pathways, but through multiple simultaneous mechanisms that pathogens cannot easily evolve around. The critical word is raw. Heating honey above approximately 40 degrees Celsius destroys the enzymes and bioactive proteins that make it medically potent. The translucent, shelf-stable product in most grocery stores is functionally a different food. Raw honey on wounds prevents infection and accelerates healing. A spoonful at the onset of a sore throat delivers genuine antimicrobial activity. Food number 3, figs. Most people who read 2 Kings chapter 20 focus on Hezekiah's miraculous recovery from a fatal infection and overlook the prescription. Isaiah the prophet did not merely pray over the dying king, he ordered a poultice of figs pressed onto the infected wound. Modern analysis of Ficus carica explains precisely why. Fig latex contains phycin, a proteolytic enzyme that breaks down necrotic tissue and promotes wound healing. Fig extracts contain psoralen and benzaldehyde, with documented antimicrobial properties. Studies confirm fig latex inhibits bacterial growth and accelerates skin repair. Beyond wound healing, figs are among the most mineral-dense fruits available. Calcium, magnesium, potassium, and B vitamins in concentrations that made them, in a world without supplements, essential nutritional tools. Their soluble fiber pectin feeds beneficial gut bacteria with exceptional efficiency. The tree Isaiah reached for to heal a king was the same tree feeding entire communities through every season. Food number 4, dates. The date palm is mentioned more times in biblical and Quranic scripture than any other fruit tree, not for its aesthetics, but because it kept people alive. Soldiers, traders, pilgrims, and desert travelers carried dates because dates worked. Dense with calories, shelf-stable for months, and capable of restoring depleted energy faster than almost any other portable food. The natural sugars come packaged with fiber, magnesium, potassium, and B vitamins that moderate absorption and support the metabolic processes energy production requires. Multiple randomized controlled trials found women consuming dates in late pregnancy had faster cervical dilation and reduced need for labor augmentation. Oxytocin-like compounds and prostaglandins have since been identified in the flesh. The tradition of breaking the Ramadan fast with dates is medically precise. The body, after a day without food, absorbs these sugars rapidly and gently. Accumulated physiological wisdom encoded in religious practice. Food number 5, pomegranate. 200 pomegranates were carved into the bronze pillars of Solomon's temple. The high priest's robe was hemmed with pomegranate designs. This fruit was considered important enough to be built into the architecture of the most sacred structure in the ancient world, and modern antioxidant science explains why with a specificity that should genuinely surprise us. Pomegranate contains punicalagin, found almost nowhere else in nature, that human gut bacteria convert into urolithins with documented anti-inflammatory, mitochondrial, and potential anti-cancer properties. Clinical trials show pomegranate juice reduces blood pressure, lowers LDL oxidation, improves arterial elasticity, and reduces C-reactive protein. Its polyphenol concentration outranks red wine, green tea, and blueberries. The rind, which most people discard, contains even higher concentrations of antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory compounds. Traditional healers used pomegranate rind tea for centuries to treat diarrhea, intestinal parasites, and inflammatory gut conditions. The priests who carved pomegranates into the temple pillars were building their deepest medical knowledge into stone. Food number 6, lentils. Esau trading his birthright for a bowl of red lentil stew seems extreme until you understand what lentils actually are. 1 cup of cooked lentils provides approximately 18 grams of protein alongside iron, folate, zinc, magnesium, and potassium. The nutritional profile of a food that sustained soldiers, laborers, and prophets through hard physical work. They have a remarkably low glycemic index for a carbohydrate-dense food, providing sustained energy without blood sugar spikes. Their soluble fiber reduces cholesterol and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Traditional preparation was soaking followed by slow cooking with cumin, coriander, and olive oil. Not merely for flavor, but for function. Soaking reduces phytic acid that otherwise binds minerals and reduces their absorption. The spices provide their own anti-inflammatory compounds. The olive oil increases absorption of fat-soluble nutrients. Food number 7, barley. When Jesus multiplied loaves and fish for 5,000 people in John chapter 6, those loaves were barley bread, the everyday grain of fishermen, laborers, and the poor. And the grain of ordinary people turns out to have been one of the most gut-protective foods ever studied. Barley contains the highest concentration of beta-glucan of any grain, a soluble fiber with effects on cholesterol and blood sugar, so consistently demonstrated that the FDA permits a formal health claim on food products containing it. Beta-glucan forms a viscous gel in the gastrointestinal tract that slows glucose absorption, reduces LDL cholesterol reabsorption, feeds beneficial gut bacteria, and enhances immune cell activity. Studies show barley outperforms oats in its effects on post-meal blood sugar. Its glycemic index is lower than wheat or rice, providing more sustained energy per serving. Hulled barley retains full fiber content. Pearled barley remains one of the best carbohydrate sources you can eat. Food number 8, ancient wheat, einkorn and emmer. When scripture refers to wheat, it refers to einkorn and emmer, ancient varieties with 14 chromosomes compared to modern commodity wheat's 42. These are not the same plant. Modern bread wheat was developed in the mid-20th century to maximize yield per acre, creating a grain with dramatically restructured gluten proteins, higher starch content, and significantly fewer micronutrients than its ancestors. Einkorn's gluten structure differs fundamentally from modern wheat. Many people who react to modern wheat tolerate einkorn without issue, and studies on gut inflammatory markers confirm lower responses to einkorn compared to modern wheat in sensitive individuals. Einkorn's protein content is higher, antioxidant capacity is greater, and starch is more slowly digested. The traditional preparation was slow sourdough fermentation, 12 to 24 hours, which breaks down gluten proteins and phytic acid, making the grain's nutrition more bioavailable and its proteins easier to digest. The bread of the ancient world was dense, dark, whole grain, and slow fermented. The grain of Scripture was not what is making people sick. What is making people sick is what we turned it into. Food number 9. Grapes. The vine is one of the most spiritually saturated plants in all of Scripture. I am the true vine, Jesus declares in John chapter 15. Noah cultivated grapes as his first agricultural act after the flood. Fresh grapes consumed with their skins contain resveratrol, quercetin, and anthocyanins studied intensively for cardiovascular protection, anti-inflammatory effects, and longevity pathways. Resveratrol activates sirtuins, proteins associated with cellular repair and lifespan extension, also activated by caloric restriction. Raisins concentrate the mineral content of grapes alongside natural sugars and fiber. Grape leaves contain flavonoids with anti-inflammatory properties used topically for centuries. The concentration of longevity compounds is highest in the skin and seeds, which traditional consumption of whole, fresh grapes naturally delivers. Food number 10. Wine in moderation. Scripture neither universally praises wine nor universally condemns it. It treats it as medicine requiring wisdom. Use a little wine for your stomach's sake, Paul writes to Timothy. The Good Samaritan pours wine into wounds as antiseptic, not symbolically, but medically. Diluted wine, as the ancient world consumed it, kills gut pathogens including E. coli and Salmonella at concentrations documented in modern microbiological studies more effectively than equivalent ethanol alone. In a world without water purification, small amounts of wine mixed with water were genuinely protective. The polyphenols in red wine, resveratrol, proanthocyanidins from grape skins, are the subject of decades of cardiovascular research. The observation that Mediterranean populations consuming moderate red wine have lower rates of heart disease has been studied extensively, with polyphenol content providing a partial explanation through effects on HDL cholesterol, platelet aggregation, and arterial inflammation. The ancient world consumed wine diluted with water, at meals, in modest quantities. That context is very different from modern alcohol culture. Food number 11. Fish. Fish is woven throughout the Gospels with specificity reflecting genuine cultural centrality. The disciples were fishermen. The miraculous feedings involved fish. Jesus prepared fish over charcoal for his disciples after the resurrection in a scene of deliberate ordinariness. Fish was the protein of everyday life in first-century coastal Israel, and it was, nutritionally, an extraordinary choice. The fish of the Sea of Galilee are rich in EPA and DHA, long-chain omega-3 fatty acids the body cannot synthesize and must obtain from food. DHA comprises a significant percentage of brain cell membrane composition, and EPA has potent anti-inflammatory effects throughout the body. The research on omega-3 fatty acids is among the strongest in nutritional science. Regular consumption is associated with reduced cardiovascular disease, lower rates of depression and cognitive decline, decreased inflammatory conditions, and improved all-cause mortality. The preparation in the Gospels was simple, grilled over charcoal. No batter, no industrial seed oil frying that degrades omega-3 content. The nutrition was preserved because nothing was done to destroy it. The disciples ate it daily because it was what they had, one of the most health-promoting dietary staples ever identified. Food number 12. Goat's milk. The land flowing with milk and honey was flowing with the milk of goats, a fundamentally different food from pasteurized commercial cow's milk. Goat's milk contains A2 casein as its primary protein rather than the A1 casein predominant in most commercial cow's milk. A1 casein produces a peptide that research associates with increased gut inflammation in sensitive individuals. A2 casein does not. Goat's milk fat globules are naturally smaller and more uniformly distributed, requiring no industrial homogenization and resulting in faster, more complete digestion. Studies confirm that individuals experiencing digestive discomfort with cow's milk frequently tolerate goat's milk without difficulty. Goat's milk is rich in caprylic acid, a medium-chain fatty acid with documented antimicrobial and antifungal properties, and in naturally occurring probiotic bacteria when consumed fresh and unprocessed. Traditional diets consumed it fresh, fermented into yogurt and labna, or aged into simple cheeses. For anyone navigating dairy sensitivity or gut dysbiosis, this ancient food may be precisely what their digestive system was designed for. Food number 13. Hyssop. Hyssopus officinalis, is used in the purification rituals of Leviticus, in Psalm 51's most famous line, and at the crucifixion. For centuries, these references were interpreted as purely symbolic. Then researchers analyzed hyssop and found that the symbolism was built on genuine pharmacological reality. Hyssop contains carvacrol and thymol, the same antimicrobial compounds that make oregano and thyme two of the most potent natural antiseptics identified. Studies have confirmed hyssop's antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal activity. It inhibits herpes simplex virus replication. Its expectorant compounds loosen and clear respiratory mucus. When understood this way, the Levitical purification rituals become something remarkable. Infection control protocols encoded in religious law, operating with genuine antimicrobial chemistry, thousands of years before germ theory. Sprinkling hyssop over persons and surfaces after illness was not ceremonial theater. It was applied microbiology. Hyssop tea for respiratory infections, tincture as antiseptic, and fresh hyssop in cooking. These uses persist because the chemistry justifying them has never changed. Food number 14. Cumin. This is the only spice on this list that Jesus names specifically. In Matthew chapter 23, he criticizes the Pharisees for tithing mint, dill, and cumin while neglecting justice and mercy. The fact that cumin was tithed, submitted as a tenth of produce to support the temple, tells you its value. You tithe things worth tithing. Cumin has been used medicinally for over 4,000 years. The compound cuminaldehyde demonstrates antimicrobial effects against a broad spectrum of bacteria and fungi. Clinical studies show cumin reduces fasting blood glucose and improves insulin sensitivity in type 2 diabetic patients, with effect sizes comparable to some pharmaceutical interventions. It stimulates bile production and digestive enzyme activity, reducing bloating and improving nutrient absorption. 3 grams of cumin provide approximately 20% of the daily iron requirement, significant in diets where meat was not eaten daily. The ancient world used cumin daily and medicinally simultaneously, because in a kitchen built around whole grains and legumes, the spices were the digestive support system. In the ancient household, even a small herb garden held genuine medicine. Food number 15. Coriander. When God provided manna in the wilderness, Exodus chapter 16 describes it as being like coriander seed, white, with a taste like wafers made with honey. That comparison was used because coriander was so familiar, so central to daily experience, that it was the natural reference point for something completely unknown. Coriander seed was found in Tutankhamun's tomb. Ancient medical papyri prescribed it for digestive complaints, nervous tension, and inflammatory pain. Modern research has confirmed genuine anxiolytic effects through GABA receptor pathway interactions. Anti-inflammatory compounds including linalool and flavonoids have been identified. Antimicrobial activity against common foodborne pathogens is documented. One of coriander's most intriguing modern research directions is heavy metal mobilization. Preliminary studies suggest cilantro and coriander facilitate removal of mercury and other heavy metals from body tissues, potentially explaining its traditional classification as a cleansing herb. The comparison to manna was not incidental. This was a food people knew intimately because they used it every day. Food number 16. Garlic. When the Israelites in the wilderness enumerate everything they are missing from Egypt, Numbers chapter 11, they specifically mourn garlic. And if you understand what garlic does to a human body, their grief makes complete scientific sense. Allicin, created when garlic is crushed and its enzymes exposed to air, demonstrates broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity against bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. Clinical trials show regular consumption reduces the frequency and severity of respiratory infections. Multiple meta-analyses confirm statistically significant reductions in blood pressure and LDL cholesterol. Platelet aggregation and liver protective effects have been documented. The Egyptian medical papyri list garlic in over 20 distinct medical preparations. The people mourning garlic in the wilderness were mourning genuine medical protection, something they had used both culinarily and medicinally every day, something their bodies knew was missing. Raw, freshly crushed garlic delivers the highest allicin concentration. Allowing a few minutes between crushing and cooking preserves more of the compound than immediate heat application. The ancient world ate this daily. Modern research confirms the grief was scientifically justified. Food number 17. Onions. Onions appear in the same wilderness lament as garlic, mourned alongside fish, cucumbers, melons, and leeks in Numbers 11. In Egypt, laborers who built the pyramids received onions and garlic as daily rations. Pharaohs were buried with them. Onions are among the richest dietary sources of quercetin, a polyphenol with anti-inflammatory, antihistamine, and antioxidant properties, whose clinical research includes documented blood pressure reduction, inhibition of inflammatory enzyme pathways, and anti-allergy effects. They are also extraordinarily rich in inulin-type fructans, prebiotic fibers that selectively feed bifidobacterium and lactobacillus in the colon, the beneficial bacteria whose activity underlies immune function and protection against pathogenic overgrowth. Before anyone understood what the microbiome was, the ancient world was building a diet that fed it precisely. Garlic, onions, leeks, and the broader allium family were daily staples, all rich in prebiotic fibers, all supporting the gut ecosystem that modern medicine is recognizing as central to virtually every dimension of health. The sulfur compounds in onions additionally support liver detoxification enzyme activity. The people who wept for the onions of Egypt were mourning genuine medical protection built into every meal. Food number 18. Almonds. When God instructed Moses to design the menorah in Exodus chapter 25, each cup was shaped like an almond blossom. Aaron's rod budded with almonds as a sign of divine appointment. This symbolic choice was made for a tree whose fruit is among the most nutrient-dense foods, gram for gram, ever analyzed. 1 ounce of almonds provides 37% of the daily vitamin E requirement as alpha-tocopherol, a fat-soluble antioxidant protecting cell membranes from oxidative damage, deficient in large portions of modern populations. The same ounce provides significant magnesium, involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions, and monounsaturated fats, calcium, and a unique fiber structure that research has shown to be incompletely absorbed, meaning some fat passes through the gut intact, feeding bacteria rather than contributing to caloric load. Clinical trials on almonds have shown reductions in LDL cholesterol, improved post-meal blood sugar response, enhanced gut microbiome diversity, and increased satiety compared to equivalent calorie snacks. The ancient world built sacred architecture around the almond blossom. Modern nutrition confirms they had identified a food that does almost everything right simultaneously. Food number 19. Pistachios. When Jacob prepared gifts to send with his sons to the Egyptian official controlling grain during famine, he included pistachios. Genesis chapter 43. If Jacob identified pistachios as appropriate gifts for Egyptian power in a context of desperate need, understand what that says about their value. Pistachios are uniquely high among nuts in lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids that accumulate in retinal tissue and protect against age-related macular degeneration. They contain more potassium per serving than most nuts, supporting blood pressure regulation. Their amino acid profile makes them among the most complete plant protein sources available. Their prebiotic fiber content is exceptional. Studies have shown regular pistachio consumption significantly increases bifidobacterium in the gut, more so than most other nuts tested. Like almonds, their fat is incompletely absorbed due to intact cell wall structure, providing more satiety per calorie than their nutrient label suggests. Clinical research has demonstrated improvements in fasting blood glucose, lipid profiles, and inflammatory markers. The patriarch who sent pistachios to a king understood their value from experience. Food number 20. Carob. John the Baptist is described in Matthew chapter 3, eating locusts and wild honey in the Judean wilderness. Many scholars argue, with linguistic and botanical support, that locusts here refers to carob tree pods, Ceratonia siliqua, known throughout the ancient Middle East as locust beans or St. John's bread. Carob pods grow wild across the region where John ministered, providing natural sugars alongside up to 40% dietary fiber by dry weight, calcium, iron, potassium, and magnesium, naturally gluten-free, with no caffeine or oxalates. What makes carob medically extraordinary is its condensed tannin content, proanthocyanidins, with documented antimicrobial and antidiarrheal effects. Studies confirm carob powder's effectiveness against rotavirus and other gut pathogens. The tannins also moderate glucose absorption, providing the sustained energy desert survival requires. Carob and honey together provide energy, fiber, minerals, and antimicrobial protection. A prophet eating this in the wilderness was not eating poorly. He was eating with extraordinary wisdom. 20 foods. Thousands of years of accumulated wisdom about what heals, what sustains, and what builds a body capable of endurance. The people who wrote these texts were observant. They built their agriculture, their rituals, and their daily practices around what experience confirmed worked. Modern biochemistry keeps arriving at the same conclusions. Olive oil reduces inflammation, honey kills bacteria, barley lowers cholesterol, garlic fights infection, almonds protect the heart. The ancient record was right. The food was the point. The healing was the point. The convergence of ancient wisdom and modern science is not coincidence. It is the same truth arriving from two different directions. Hit that like button and subscribe to Sacred Roots. Every week we go deeper into the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern science. And every week the evidence grows stronger that the most powerful tools for human health have been written about for us all along.